Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. We've got a fun episode for you today. We're going to be talking about how to market your startup, not just in the general world, but also to investors, how you should be speaking, how you should be thinking, how you should be presenting your startup, your company, your product, your service. We've got a great panel of investors from around the world to share with us their thoughts and their perspective from all the experience they have speaking with startups and also being marketed to by startups as well. But before we get started, big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you like what you hear, make sure you click subscribe, like, and share the episode. Also, check out our archive on latoken.com to hear from all speakers today of the VCTV family. A big thank you to the Latoken team and to Maria for making today's episode possible. With that, I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce all of our panelists today before we get into a little bit more fun. David, welcome up. You're first on the docket today. A little introduction, a little background for everybody.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Schachter. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a CBD e-commerce platform. I'm from California.
Wonderful. What's the name of the platform?
It's Cannabis Scope. It's an interactive system to help people really find the right product. You know, the CBD cannabis space is pretty confusing, so we have this cool discovery wheel. You can kind of find the right system and now order products. So we went from an information system to an e-commerce affiliate program.
Wonderful. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, David. Giampaolo, welcome back to the show as always. A little introduction, a little background.
Thank you, Kyle, for having me here. This is Giampaolo Parigi, serial entrepreneur, venture capitalist. I'm the president and principal in a private equity group in California called ACC. And I'm also chairman of a New York-based single family office. I've been in manufacturing and technology in different fields and sectors over the last 3 decades. And I'm also a partner in a number of VC accelerators and companies. Happy to be here, Kyle. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Giampaolo. Last but not least, Tushar, welcome to the show. On this side, as I know you've joined many other VCTV episodes, so we feel very honored to have you as well. A little introduction, a little background for everybody.
Yeah, it's my honor, actually, Kyle. You know, I've been watching the US side since a long time, and the first time I got to participate. So myself, Tushar Kansal from Kansaltancy Ventures. We are a investment management firm affiliated with almost 600 investors, officially partners with 5 VC funds. I help companies across funding, financing, across reaching out to new markets. And my personal background has been in Deloitte, in India's largest venture capital fund, Brand Capital. And I also headed treasury at the Russian telecom company, MTS. And, have been CFO with the company owned by Guggenheim Partners. Happy to be on the show today and be talking about this very interesting topic.
Wonderful. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to have a great time today. With that, we do have one last guest who will be presenting their startup today. Before we get started, Amine, do you want to provide a quick introduction and then go ahead and bring your presentation up? And we'll go ahead and start the clock here in just a moment. But do you want to provide a quick introduction on yourself?
Sure. My name is Amine Berraoui. My previous life, I was a banker as well, investment banking. I worked with Citibank, RBS, Deutsche Bank. I was head in Middle East, Africa, and Eastern Europe for derivatives products. And since 2013, I'm focusing much more on the fintech space and the VC space. When I launched the first fintech on blockchain, actually, with the UK government sponsorship in 2015, 2016. And since then, I moved on and we started the Actina project a bit less than a year ago.
Wonderful. Welcome to the show, and go ahead and bring up your presentation. Amin's going to have a presentation for us. He's going to be presenting his company for us, David, Tushar, and Giampaolo. So we're going to listen in. He's going to have 5 minutes on the clock to present us and pitch us as investors, and then we'll go ahead and give him some feedback as well following his presentation. So Amin, go ahead and cue that up. Do you need me to bring it up on the screen? There you go. 5 minutes is yours when you're ready.
Okay, ready.
Go.
Perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, actually. Thanks for attending the pitch. So time constraint, we move straight to the subject. So the purpose of Actina is really to tackle the obesity issue, or what we call the globesity now. 30% of the population globally now is considered as obese. That's around 2 billion people. The obesity pandemic moved in two directions in the last decade. One direction is moved from rich countries to poor countries, and also from the adult population to the child population. For the first time, we saw now that children are born with diabetes before even having bad habits. We're tackling this issue to the two main pillars. One, which is the activity or inactivity, and the second around the nutrition, good or bad nutrition. And of course, we're using social interaction and gamification to tackle this. So our solution are split in two. Basically, the platforms we leverage on. So we have ActiCount, which is a platform that counts or pushes people to be active, to do sport, etc. And the other part is an educational marketplace which is Actina Academy, where people can follow a certain curriculum and get a better exposure to good habits. The economic part or the infrastructure part is we have a wallet where people can have their rewards and their coins, and a cashback mechanism through which they can monetize this. And of course, Actina Coin is at the center of all this, which is the main exchange or main currency used across our ecosystem. So what is Actina? As I mentioned, is basically a currency that on one side the user will earn either through having activities, either through participating in some educational programs, and at the other side, to our network of participating merchants, they can basically transform whatever they earn into actual physical reward. How it works is very simple. An example, I have my son is on PlayStation. He wants a gift worth $10, for example. I said, no problem. You go run 10 kilometers. You earn Actina coins. You can go with these on Amazon or one of our member merchants, and you can monetize this for your gift or your whatever you want to purchase. If you only run 5 kilometers and you have only 5 coins, then basically you can do a mix between the reward or the coins and your fiat currency through our wallet to make your purchase. In terms of market size or market opportunity, obviously we are at the intersection or junction of many macro markets. One is the e-commerce, the loyalty program, the sport tech, and the crypto. But we estimate our markets at the moment around 2.5 to 3 billion yearly. That's really a very limited view on the market. So just to give an idea on the economic impact of obesity in the US only, for example, it's considered to be 1.7 trillion on a yearly basis, 500 into medical costs, and 1.2 trillion in terms of loss of productivity. So that gives you a size of basically the cost of obesity. Competitors in the market, Sweatcoins at the moment, they are 2-3 years live. They have 5 million users, and BeFaster is just currently launching their application. The main problems they both have, one is they're in closed circuit in the sense that they only use their application, they're not open to the rest. And the second part is they only allow users to convert whatever they earn as coins into products. So it takes a lot of time for people to be actually able to convert, which is not our case. Client acquisition, we're facilitating the client acquisition through multiple channels. One is through our own applications and the academy, of course, the wallet, but also because we are a B2B business, so we allow through API other apps to actually link into our ecosystem, and then we can onboard right away 10,000 or 20,000, whatever the apps have as a client base, we can onboard directly. The revenue model is based on the loyalty program, of course. It's a cashback program where we share the fees or the savings between us, the merchants, and the user. A later stage when we have a virtual card issuance, and we will have transaction fees as well. We're looking to break even in worst case scenario Q1 22 at 200,000 users. This is our roadmap, where it goes from the IO today to the virtual card reaching 1 million users, and by 2023 have our own e-money license to be able to hold the money. We're building an ecosystem, so we have the coin, the academy, the application, but also Actina Labs, where we do venture building, incubation, and acceleration, and then Actina Fund, which is going to be a VC fund investing of all the ecosystem. The team, basically a team of both very experienced venture or venture building as well as financiers, with a strong bias towards sport, with Stefan and Peter having their PhDs in different segments focused on the sport industry. That's it. I think it's within the 5 minutes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Amine. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and unshare your screen. Whoop, wrong screen. There we go. All right. Thank you very much for the presentation. You did it in just over 5 minutes, but we'll give it to you today. It's Monday, so no stress. David, any thoughts or any questions for Amine and his company that he's put together?
I was just curious on when you mentioned the PlayStation, that was just an example of like a reward system.
Yeah, I just took it just to give an example, but typically what we are trying to do is address the fact that children are inactive. So you need to incentivize them, So the way to incentivize them is allow them to earn something that they can convert into something that is appealing to them. So I took PlayStation as a typical example because I live it every day with my son. But you can, replace PlayStation with Amazon Store, a T-shirt, whatever you want.
Sure. Yeah, make him earn, like before he can play, he has to do something, and that's his reward. Very cool.
Wonderful. Thank you. Gianpaolo, any thoughts, questions, or feedback for Amine?
Well, questions not. I mean, presentation was pretty clear, and of course, Amine has been an investment banker for so many years. He knows, what are the challenges of raising. So I don't need to elaborate at this moment on that. I think it's a great idea. Anything that can go towards the improvement of especially children's health, I think it's well received, and best of luck on that.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Absolutely. Tushar, any feedback or questions for Amine?
I just want to ask, is there any modification with regards to the COVID times? So, has there been any adjustment you have done to the business which suits the post-COVID scenario?
Not really, to be frank. In terms of business model, not really. But what COVID did is actually it's comforted our view, because obviously with a lot of children being confined, less activity, more pressure in terms of social interaction, less incentive to go exercise, bad food habits, but also one aspect that is never talked about, which is the mental health. And that's also something we address into the academy, which is a massive issue for the children. Is less detected, but for example, the student population, it's estimated that 30% of the student population globally now is has mental health issue because of the confinement and the lack of social interaction. So that's something we definitely want to address, but it's not fundamentally changing our business model. It's just comforting us in our views.
Yeah, so my just small recommendation is that for the mental health of children, which you very rightly pointed it out, you can probably build something for them as well.
Sure, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And also, I've seen a number of these projects over the last decade trying to help focus children and give them a reward system in return. And I guess my big advice to Amine is just keep it focused. On that last slide, there was a lot of ambitious things that you guys wanted to do, continuing around an accelerator, a venture fund, and the like. I would really stay as focused as possible in building that reward system. The one area that could be an early expansion is accelerator. So, not only are you getting rewards for the system that you've built, but then also being able to use those to build something. For instance, as well, I've seen a number of accelerators positively helping to focus around education, into technology and innovation, and then building a company or a product early on in a child's life. So focus, but wish you the best of luck, and excited to see how the company evolves as well. One quick shout out to the audience on where they can find more about you and the company as well, if they'd like to continue the conversation.
Sure. I mean, the easiest way to go on our site is actina.io. So it's very, very simple and straightforward, and we'll be happy to entertain any questions. With great pleasure.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Amine. We're going to go ahead and continue our conversation. You're welcome to stay, or if you need to go, feel free. But yeah, we do want to jump into today's topic. We've got some outstanding investors around the table to speak about marketing your startup, company, product, or service as well. So what you should be doing when you put your company out to market to the general public, whether that's locally or globally. But we all know, as here on VCTV, day one, you're a global company, no matter what. You've got customers all around the world today, but then how do you also market your startup and prepare your startup for investors? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's just start off with a blanket question, everybody. I mean, how has marketing your startup changed here in 2021, whether that be to, again, your customers or to investors? Let's start with you, David. How have you really changed the way that you've marketed your startup to companies, or to consumers, but then also potentially to investors as well?
So we've kind of gone through a development phase going into 2020. From our last crowd fund, we raised $140,000, and that went to development of a platform. It was a tool that was connected to a dispensary's point of sale system, and we would display the menu. And our full development is becoming e-commerce. So now it's not going after businesses and trying to get a yearly contract to run their operations. Now it's shifting to B2C. You can now buy something for $5 or $20. So we've done a full go-to-market kind of come out as, hey, here, this is a store. You can own your own store. We tried doing something with influencers and affiliates. I come more from the affiliate marketing background. I understand, giving somebody a store, giving them a link. For the influencers, there is somewhat of an issue because they want to get paid up front for what they want to do and what we're trying to do. So we've kind of struggled with that, where I think the affiliate marketing makes more sense. So we're still learning as we're going, but getting into 2021, now that we have this platform that's built and it's more a B2C play, how are we doing it? Is it through influencers? But it's really coming in through affiliates and professional programs. That makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, influencer marketing, it seems to be where a lot of companies have started to move, whether that's influencers in general or KOL, key opinion leaders, in different parts of the world as well. Gianpaolo, I know you work with a number of startups in this area about marketing their company in all ways, shapes, or form. How has that changed here in 2021?
Well, I mean, I don't see really great difficulties in the landscape, as opposed to the difficulties that we had last year. I mean, startups are facing, by definition, a mountain, and the fact that we have gone, or we are still in a pandemic, changes very little for them. I think it might make things slightly more, lengthy or complicated, but overall, I think at the end of the day, it's always the same ordeal. I would like to remind any startuppers, that the first item on which they have to concentrate as founders is themselves, because they are the brand in the beginning. They are everything. So everything revolves and rotates around their persons. So I think this is very important to consider. Everything they do, the way they approach prospective investors, the way they craft their materials, the way they decide their management team, or the prospective management team, and also the type of advisors they bring to the table. Everything will cast a good or a bad light on their company. And but again, first and foremost, their own personalities and their own style. Because when it comes to the first moves of a startup, I think that there's a lot of serendipity in the way startups may meet investors and trigger the investors' interest. So I think there must be focus, like you said, Kyle, concentration, and and try to shape up, and not only honing their own skill, but also shape up their act, so that it's like a theater play. It has to be, rehearsed and performed over and over behind closed doors before you put it on stage and you go further. Because, one of the issues I see is, and of course it's fully understandable on a human point of view, is the fact that, founders want to try and reach the investors as quickly as possible, especially after they have put their hands on some database and they have addresses or emails or, telephone numbers. But the reality is, if you haven't perfected your pitch, which doesn't only mean to polish your deck, it means really to make sure that you've covered all the most important issues that you need to cover. Because investors, being investors, they will immediately put their finger in the wound and, what else is new? They would exactly touch those soft tissues that you have right there and expose your weaknesses immediately. Not because they need to be mean or nasty with you, just because they are, their job is, I always say, investors' job is slashing other people's projections. Sometimes it's very tough. Andresen said, that his job is to destroy other people's dreams to a degree, and you could phrase it any way you want. I always say, I need to slash other people's projections. What they show me normally it's too far-fetched and overly optimistic. But again, so it's very important from the founder side to try and address, and how do you do that? How do you address these issues? Because the amount of knowledge that you have in a startup by definition is limited. So I suggested one good way to go about it and try to increase your knowledge base is to speak to somebody that's been in the same industry and made it, or maybe even established companies, and try to pick their brain if it's possible. And you could do that through a number of venues. In conferences, you could do it, through word of mouth if you got the connections. Maybe some of the connections you have can lead you to these people that would be happy, if not to share trade secrets with you, at least to share, some of the challenges that they've successfully gone through. So I think, all in all, you have to really prepare, I would say a theater play for which people would be happy to stand in line, buy the ticket, and watch the performance. And as I say, if you go to the market 1 month later, but you go in a better shape, I'm all for that 1 month later.
That's a great piece of advice, Gianpaolo. Thank you. And also, I'll just add on their feedback. Every time that you are presenting, every time you are pitching your company, your product, your service, listening to how people react and the feedback that you get and making adjustments from that as well. But great points, Gianpaolo. Tushar, anything from your side? How would you think about how this entire area has changed for startups presenting their companies to consumers and to investors here in 2021 globally at that?
A lot of technology has got built in. Just the way technology has been marching ahead. So marketing being the primary driver of any founder's focus. If the numbers don't add up, the cash flow doesn't add up, then it doesn't look good. The cash flow doesn't look good. So I see companies which are now increasingly using in-store automation, using AR and VR, using geolocational mapping, and behavioral prediction modeling, and giving more benefits to the consumer in terms of loyalty and lifetime values. And automation has taken a lot of precedence over the traditional marketing channels, even within something like influencer marketing. Once like TikTok came in, Reels came in, then nano influencer became a front end, and it is cheaper to use and gives you more mileage for the buck. So within digital marketing, of course, it is still led by a lot of money being spent on the big ones like Google, Facebook, and the funnel is traditionally taken from these big companies. But there has been a more availability of such platforms which are very niche and which give you a more targeted audience. I tell you of two companies one company, they are selling video-based courses. The whole experience is fulfillment-led. It is online. Everything happens. There is no direct, need to be in touch directly. They generate most of their business from HR, placement-based websites, and because these placement-based websites are able to convince the consumer that if they do these courses, then their chances of getting a job goes up. So I know of one other company which has been a leader in clinical research in India, and their courses are also doing very well, and they are also utilizing job-based websites in a very unique way. And my sense is that although Google ecosystem and Facebook ecosystem are going to stay here for the long term, also because they have been innovating a lot after COVID. Facebook relaxed a lot of its policies around organic growth of page views. And I deal with two companies. One is programmatic out of home company. They have created a platform wherein if you are watching out of home screens in a mall or in a outside location, then their server can gather a lot of information of the people who are watching that particular screen and who are around in an area, and use those numbers gathered from the mobiles of those people and give targeted advertisements. So just the way targeted advertisements have gone from online to more so offline mode, similarly this whole trend will continue towards that, and I foresee more niche products like TikTok to come in, and more platforms will eventually be available for the startup founders to get more buck out of their more money out of their more value out of their money spent.
More bang for the buck is the I think the term you might have been looking the phrase you're looking for. I had you, Tushar. No worries, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's so many, just like we've talked about on VCTV. There's more ways to raise capital than ever before. You can do through syndicates, through angels, through family office, through venture, to corporate venture, to, I mean, everything is on the table now. And from a marketing perspective, you're painting that picture as well. As there's so many great opportunities and platforms that are free to use to just start doing the one thing you have to do, no matter what your company, product, or service is build a community. It can be on TikTok, it can be on Snapchat, it can be on Twitter, it can be on Substack, it can be on a million different platforms, including those that are starting to up and come around decentralization as well. So take advantage of them, find one or two, focus on them, and go. And you never know who you can meet, as I know Gary is about to say in his opening line here as well. And Gary, what are your thoughts as how marketing startups has changed here in 2021?
Well, I mean, it's like, the keep it simple, stupid piece. I mean, what's the first thing people do when they talk to you is they Google your name. They're going to check your company out. They're going to check you out. So you got to make sure that you built an online presence for yourself and for your company. And how do you do that? Well, you write articles in places like Medium. You get those articles circulated around. You become, I'll never forget, my partner, David Jang, told me that you need to become an industry expert. Whatever it is, you need to dive deep and become an industry expert. But the other part is you need to get the word out. And, how do you do that? Exactly like we're doing here on VCTV. Get the word out. So the startups, what they need to do is they need to figure out how to minimize their expenses and maximize the views that they're going to get. So, of course, when they're doing online, they're using Google AdWords. They're really targeting. That's fantastic. The old days of just doing word of mouth are out. You've got to figure out ways to be surgically precise in terms of the targeting, but you also got to make sure that your presence is out there enough so people feel comfortable. Why? Because you need to have the trust and credibility today. So when they do what they figure out it's a real company, because the other side of it is you could be anywhere saying you are X and in reality you're not. So, and we haven't seen a lot of that yet, but we're going to start to see more of it. think about it. I had a meeting with SoftBank and with one of the top investment managers of SoftBank. And when we went through the conversation, he said, "We're not. This is the beginning of the pandemic. We're not going to invest. We're going to put, we're going to hold back and see what happens. But you can't afford to hold back. This pandemic is not over yet, and with some of the reoccurrences, especially in places like India and the U.S., we need to make sure we're using the resources in front of us, this digital transformation, wisely. It's the greatest time for marketeers out there. You can save money. You can touch anywhere at any time at any place. You can move through it. You can get the word out. You just understand that you need to do it wisely, and that starts from square one. From putting a little bit of money into the your green screens and those kind of things as a startup, to be able to go out and make sure that you're getting the visibility with videos that are out there that show talking about subjects that are important to your company and yourself. And it's not rocket science. This is not like rocket science. It's just tenacity and perseverance to do it.
It takes focus as well. To your point, Gary. I mean, you've got to try and you've got to start. Harsh, are you there? We'd love to get your thoughts as to marketing your startup, how that might look differently here in 2021. Oh, hey, Harsh, real quick. Hey, Harsh, real quick. You're pretty far away from the mic. We'll come back to you here in just a few. It's a little difficult to hear you. I don't know if you've got headphones or something you want to try, but it's a little difficult. So we're going to keep moving on, but we'll come back to you here in a minute as you get some headphones. So guys, I want to come around about investors. So we've talked about marketing. We talked a little bit about investors, but as investors, how
is it better now?
Much better. There you go.
Okay, perfect.
Go ahead, Harsh. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Harsh.
Yeah. So essentially, marketing has kind of never changed, right? I call it the TCR framework, right? Traffic, conversion, and referral. Marketing has always remained the same. It's always going to remain the same. It's not going to change much. However, the channels have kind of changed a little. Primarily, the kind of enterprise companies whom I advise, they are kind of facing a lot of challenges because enterprise sales typically happens to the inside sales channels, right? Because of COVID, with the inside sales kind of gone down, they've been struggling a lot to kind of get those conversions. So the biggest challenge for me was to kind of convince them that you can create your digital sales funnel. You can completely create your sales funnel marketing online, where you can kind of get those kind of impressions which are needed, so that they can then kind of convert the customers purely through digital sales channel. It was a little difficult for me to convince them initially how to use the LinkedIn Sales Navigator to get through those enterprise connections, how to structure the funnel, how do you structure the webinars, how do you structure the entire automations, all of that stuff. It tends to be a little difficult for the inside sales people to kind of explain that, but once you go through that, it becomes extremely easy. And the conversions and the effectiveness is actually surprisingly higher than doing a pure inside sales job where you have to do it on person, right? So it's in a way, it's been a bit, the people who have adapted to this, they have really benefited a lot from that. Additionally, for B2C startups, the opportunities with influencer marketing have gone up through the roof. With the rate at which the number of influencers are growing, and considering how cheap that is, it definitely makes a lot of sense to go through that. However, the problem with influencer marketing also tends to be that the conversions tend to be low. So you can get a very high number of impressions, but it doesn't create as many conversions. So to add to the point which David was mentioning, affiliate sales is actually one of the best ways to kind of go about it, because there you only pass on the commission once you make the sale, right? So you don't lose out at all whatsoever. So that is one of the best ways to do so. The biggest advice which I would give to any startup is to kind of structure your sales in a way that you don't end up losing too much money while acquiring the customer. What typically tends to happen is if you end up burning like $20, $30, $50 just to acquire a customer, and you don't make that money.
Can't hear you, Kyle. You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry, we lost Harsh there for just a moment, but we'll continue on. So, as investors, how would you like startups to market to you or to present to you? How do you like to be presented by startups? I mean, we've got, and Gary's mentioned this many times, we're inundated with information and data. We got our inboxes are slammed left and right. But for those that are listening, if they're wanting to pitch you as an investor, what is the best way that they can get in touch? Is it through a TikTok video? Is it through Instagram? Is it through social media, through LinkedIn, through an article? What do you want to see when a startup is marketing to you as an investor? Gary, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the best, I've heard this so many times. The best way to get to me is to have somebody like you, Kyle, or Tushar, or Gianpaolo, or David. That's, just have a reference, somebody that business is a contact sport, and I feel a lot more comfortable with it if I get somebody coming through one of my trusted contacts. So that's really important for me. So if I was a startup, I would go out, use LinkedIn, use your network, figure out who you have that has a contact with that person, and I would get a personal meeting set up, some type of recommendation from a friend to a friend. It just dramatically increases the probability. I can't tell you how many times that I've heard investors, large family funds, which are hard to get to begin with, or the VCs, large and small, saying if we get it from somebody they know, they're much more likely to look at it. And if not, there's thousands of them in their trash, right, and the junk mail.
That's a very good point. There's plenty of them. Gianpaolo, how about you?
I could just do a cut and paste of Gary's words. I mean, my thoughts exactly. If it comes through someone like Gary or someone like you, Kyle, that I know that I've been working with or I'm working with, and I recognize and respect in the industry, obviously it carries weight and punch. Of course, people can reach us also through the socials, but I'm still flabbergasted and seeing how many people are reaching out to me through socials, but they didn't even really pay the time to read the profile that I put on that social, the things that I'm looking for, the ventures I would like to invest in. People do not do their homeworks really thoroughly. Not all of them, of course, but most. And again, having a name of an investor and an email or a contact point per se means nothing. If you cannot conquer the attention, intercept the interest of that particular person, I mean, you're nowhere near the solution of your problems. In fact, you are wasting precious ammo. And because, of course, I mean, if you've been pitching the wrong way, I mean, chances are that if you come back around, you're not going to get any attention from the same investors twice. So the reality is, it's a hardest process, and it's not enough to just get the names and the contact reference points. I mean, you need to have something more. Work on that, because the time you invest in this effort is time well spent.
Absolutely. Tushar, any thoughts to add on to that?
Muted.
Oh, Tushar, we've got you muted there. Apologies. No worries.
Sorry,
there you
sorry.
go.
So, continuing from where Gary said what Gary said, and later on. So, I feel that, if you are giving your money to someone, and, you are more than the fact that what kind of a return that person will generate for you is, more than that, what is important is the security of your initial principal. And that means that you have to trust and know the person. You have to be either a part of the same social system, an alumni network, or a business network. Here there is BNI International. That's a network which creates an offline community of businessmen who offer business help to each other. So one of my very old respected gentlemen here, he started his own a chapter here, not a chapter, a whole new business around the same principles, and I've seen the growth. I mean, in a matter of 5 years, Mr. Suresh Mancharamani, he's done very well for himself. And so, what trust brings in, what relationships bring in, that's most crucial. And apart from the fact that there has to be a research and analysis behind each decision, is also the fact that who gets a particular deal to you. And apart from that, what I feel is that a lot of people who come to me, they say that we have been trying this financing business, and we have been trying that business, so let us do one thing, let us create a tech platform where all the investors can register themselves, all the startups can register themselves. I've seen such businesses, but they are not on an autopilot. End of the day, you have to have a solid offline platform behind what is online. And there is a ventures platform here which 75% of their work is actually offline, but they facilitate everything by using the online tools. So that sort of a system, I've seen the success behind it. And those are my views about it.
I love it. Thank you very much. And it looks like we're right about it. There's a little bit of an echo. It looks like we're on. Please, David.
What I've done so LinkedIn has been amazing for the cannabis industry because Facebook, a lot of places haven't allowed it, and it's a very niche industry. There's only a handful of real investors in the cannabis space, but just doing a copy paste, hey, here, my name's David, here's my link, and just dropping that on LinkedIn, like, it's not cool. When I talk to people, when I go back and I look at, 2 years ago, I just was blasting. So kind of be careful on that. It has to be a personal message. It has to be something relative. Like John Paulo was saying, like, did you even read my article, or are you just blasting this to every investor list that you got? So just be conscious of, you're trying to cold call somebody, you're trying to get a hold of them. If you don't have that personal connection, and if you do, you have to strike a chord. You have to do something that catches their eye, that, you did read my profile and I would like to meet you and continue on. So just be careful with the copy paste blasting on LinkedIn and just email. Like, it doesn't work. People, they remember you and they're not happy with it. So if you don't have that personal inspection, but by all means, pick up the phone and send an email and reach out. Everybody has time right now. I mean, if it's of interest and you think so, go for it. But just try to do it in a respectful manner that actually makes a personal connection. Makes a huge difference to, you're from Singapore. Great. I've been to Singapore once, and I've, there's something there to talk about.
Absolutely. Great point, David. Thank you for ending us on that. It's a great point. Do your research, as Jean Paulo and David had said, and make sure you have a personal touch as well. So, gentlemen, we're at the top of the hour. I want to make sure everyone has a little bit of time today in their day to get to their partner meetings. So quick run around as to where everyone can find you online so they can pitch you and market their startup to you as well. Tushar, let's start with you. Where can everyone find you online to continue the conversation?
I am mostly available, just like Gary I see on VCTV. I am that way on LinkedIn. So, it's like morning, evening, and afternoon. No, but LinkedIn is where I am. And I can also be accessed on my email, which is my name, tusharkansal@gmail.com, or through my website, or, easily available.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Tushar. Gary, where can everyone find you to continue the conversation?
Yeah, so you can reach me on LinkedIn, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn. You can reach me on Twitter. I have some shows. Check them out. I'm happy to, whatever it takes, reach out. I'm happy to talk, and it's a great time. The digital transformation's upon us. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. David, where can everyone find you?
Cannabisscope.com or david@cannabisscope.com. On LinkedIn. Happy to go through emails, phone calls, go through it. So thank you, Kyle, for having us.
Thank you as well, David. Jean Paulo, close us out. Where can everyone find you online?
Sure, you can reach me on my personal website, giampaoloparigi.com. You can reach me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and or by email, giampaoloparigi1@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much for sharing your thoughts and insights again around today's topic focused on marketing your startup, whether that be to consumers or to investors. To our audience, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard, make sure you click subscribe, like, and share the episode. Also, check out the archive on latoken.com for hearing all today's speakers and all speakers of the VCTV family. And we'll be taking a short little break here for more VCTV in about 15 to 20 minutes. We'll be right back here. And also a big thank you to the Latoken team and to Maria for making today's episode possible. You can find me along with all of our speakers today online 24/7, 365. Check us out. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you add context where you heard us, where you met us, and what you would like to continue the conversation about. With that, we'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Everyone have a great day. Bye.